Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for January 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, check out my new astrology blog and some of my other blogs, and definitely check out my new Creating Successful Online Business course, which is registering now. So what is going on in January? January is not an astrological new year. That is the most important thing that I can tell you, because all of the things that you will be tabling to do in January after the holidays when you're less busy are the things that you're probably not supposed to be doing starting in January. So we have to talk about the importance of the vibe of the month and what it is good for and what it will be bringing up. If you have things that you want to launch, try to launch them in December. Planets will be in Sagittarius, which are in beautiful combination with Aries. You may find that you get very zesty in that time, when for most of December, when you have all of the fire energy blending with your fire energy. Or you can wait until into February when the retrograde energy has passed, and then the planets start getting into Aquarius, which is beautifully blending nice again, the air with your fire. So either of those times in December or getting into February, or if you are still having to put some work into a project, waiting until the planets start to move into your sign, Aries, when the real astrological new year is starting at the end of March. So those would all be way better options than pushing everything forward in January. January is great for continuing things that you've already been working on. So an ongoing process. January is great for some short-term things. So Mercury retrograde doesn't mean you don't do anything new at all. It just means that you don't commit to something long-term or make long-lasting decisions during that time. So if it's something very small that you're trying on or that you're working with, you can experiment during that time, because Mercury retrograde and all the personal planets being retrograde is a great time to try something on. It's just not the best time to buy those things. So that's the main thing you have to remember. There's also actually a bunch of other stuff that you need to remember about Mercury retrograde, but I'm not going to talk about those things in this video because we have so many other things to talk about. But if you go to my video called Mercury retrograde on my channel, Annie Botticelli, then I talk about in way more detail what the transit is, how often it happens, which is very often, what we need to know about it, what it is good to do, what happens if you have to do the things that you're not supposed to do when it's retrograde, how do you cover yourself. I talk about all that in that video. So back to January. This month is very much about old things coming up to be dealt with. So we've got a combination of energies that are bringing this to us. We have Mercury going retrograde on January 5th. It's retrograde until January 25th. But the days before and after those days, which encompass all of January and into February, and even having started at the end of December, are all cloaked in this retrograde, which brings our focus backwards, which brings things up from the past. It brings up weak links. There's also some conjunctions with Pluto. On January 5th, the Sun makes a conjunction with Pluto. At the end of the month, January 23rd through around the 28th, Mercury is making multiple conjunctions with Pluto. And whenever these planets get together with Pluto, they amplify or rev up Pluto's power, and Pluto goes in deep. So this is the time to be asking the deep questions, the kind of questions that might change the things that you would have been launching. If you were still trying to launch these things in January, really what you're supposed to be doing now is making really good and sure that what you are about to embark upon is the direction that is most solidly in line with your highest expression. So you have to ask these questions. So what happens when we have this combination of energy at the same time, like I said, is it brings up these weak links. That's what all transits do as far as I'm concerned. When I look at charts or horoscopes, I see that as these aspects are lining up in these certain ways, they show us weak links. Those are the more challenging ones, right? The nice ones just bring nice stuff. But the challenging ones, and there always are some, show us what needs to be strengthened so that we can have more of the things that we want in life. So I know one thing that is going to be universal for all Aries, and that is this focus on career. There is going to be a lot of backwards motion in general, but there might be some forward movement in your career. And that will be based on forward movement based on things from the past. So recognition for things you've already done, acknowledgement for things you've already done, advancement for things you've already done. So you can see like the energy of Capricorn is ambitious and it is forward moving, but that is, let the forward movement be the universe doing something for you rather than you proactively trying to make something happen. That's the difference there. You can accept things that naturally come, you just don't want to go looking for that at that time. Capricorn rules business, your place in the world, acknowledgement, recognition, your interactions with authority figures or being an authority figure on some sort of matter, being seen by people who can advance your work. So that is all the 10th house and Capricorn. So for Aries, when the planets start to move into Capricorn, it's accentuating the sign that rules these things, Capricorn, and it's also accentuating the house that rules these things. So it's like, that's why everything is always more intense for Aries, is because it's like the energy and then some, you know, it's always to the nth degree. Everything's to the nth degree. So recognition, career, opportunities, things may come up. And it's okay to consider opportunities that come at that time, but just remember that the information or something about what's coming in might change. So if you can, go into negotiations about it, but try to not make your final decision at least into February, or, you know, work on fine-tuning details, because there's very likely going to be small print. You know, it might sound great. That's something that Aries is really good at. You know, I have Aries rising, so I'm infamous for this. It's like when something comes before us, we rush into it almost before even knowing. We just say yes. We don't even hear out whatever's happening. Yes, I like that. That sounds good. Let's do that. You don't even know what it is you're getting yourself into, and that is great. A lot of times that works. That's why we tend to accomplish things, because we are fearless and don't really worry too much about things before we do them, right? But there are certain times where we get ourselves into trouble with that. And this is one of those times that you can do that by agreeing to something before you know exactly what you're getting yourself into or what it entails. Okay, so back to these weak links. During the times when we don't have planets, personal planets retrograde, we are sweeping things under the rug, especially Aries energy, right? Because we're too busy. We have to keep moving forward, don't have time for that, keep moving forward. So things get swept under the rug, and then when Mercury goes retrograde, all the rugs, the universal rugs, get picked up, and all of the stuff gets all swirling around right in our space where we can't avoid it anymore. So we have these weak links come up depending on what else is going on in the chart. So I'm going to look to some longer term trends for Aries that are going to be some of the places where Aries has these weak links come up. One of them has to do with Saturn. So for early degree placements, Saturn is in the 9th house. For all the rest of the placements, so most Aries placements still have Saturn in the 8th house. So depending on where your placement is, any challenges that you're working with Saturn, the Mercury retrograde is going to make that long-term transit more current, because it's going to bring up these unresolved things. So for most of you, that's going to come up with something having to do with debt, credit, owing money, borrowing money, investing money, collaborating, joint money, shared money. It's called other people's money, money coming from some other source other than yourself, or merged money. And other resources, not just money, because there are a lot of resources that people have that aren't exactly money or exactly tangible. It's that house of shared power. So if you're having to refinance your loan, if you're trying to clear up your credit, if you'd like to purchase a house in the future, things like that, there are ducks you have to get in a row, and this month is going to be very much about dealing with those things. Something else that could come up is things involving taxes, and this is a great month to focus on taxes because it's retrospective, because all the energy's in Capricorn. So if you get a really good assessment about how your finances were this year, that's going to help you with your plan. So you see, all of this is about, this is your summarizing, strategizing, figuring out, and then planning for the future, but it's not actually the launching into the future time yet. Okay, so we've got weaknesses with Saturn moving there. Also, weaknesses within your deep personal relationships. Saturn in Scorpio, it's not in the sign of Scorpio anymore, it's in Sagittarius, but it's in the house of Scorpio for most of you still. So this ongoing story of challenges within your personal relationships is continuing due to Saturn's presence there and due to Mercury retrograde bringing up things that have been swept under the rug. So you'll have opportunities to strengthen, or we'll say Saturn will test your deep relationships, and you'll go through this testing period. Maybe it was not, maybe relationships that you're in were not having a solid foundation. If that's true, that will be revealed. Or maybe there are weak links that have to be worked out. Saturn in one of the houses of partnership can either bring strong, powerful combinations of energies. So basically it forges deep partnership in that sign, or it tests relationships and breaks up partnerships of every kind, romantic, business, close relationships, etc. So if you don't have a lot of strength in the foundation, or if it just wasn't meant to be, maybe it was a strong relationship, but it just wasn't meant to be, Saturn may break that out of your life. So that is what goes on when Saturn is moving through. It makes people very seriously ask the questions, who are the people close to you? Why are they close to you? What are they bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? How do you feel when you're with them? How does the dynamic that you have serve what you're working on, what the other person's working on? And there's a lot of codependent relationships in the world, and Saturn often busts them up. If there's dysfunction, Saturn's going to bring up these issues, and Mercury retrograde being current in January is going to facilitate that. For those of you who have early degree placements in Aries and have Saturn in your 9th house, this has to do more with your philosophy on the world, the bigger picture. So for some people, you could be experiencing a dark night of the soul. You know, when Saturn moves through your house of beliefs, your belief system, it's trying to get you to define or redefine what is the bigger story that helps you to keep going in life, you know? And that can be kind of heavy when Saturn is there testing it. So maybe you believed a certain thing, and then Saturn comes in and takes that away, and you say, oh, well, I guess that wasn't true. Now you're looking for something to believe in. And so that can be a little bit difficult. But whatever Saturn does as far as hazing you or giving you trouble, you eventually get gifts from that. If you just hang in there, be disciplined, be diligent, and do the work of weeding out, of experimenting, of seeing what fits, and letting go of the things that don't fit. Something else that could be tested is something specifically having to do with churches or religion. The 9th house is the house of churches and religion. And so if you have felt for a while that you're not quite a fit for the type of religion that you're in, you might be asking those questions now. So that's back to what I was saying earlier. Pluto is bringing up these big questions. The retrograde is making us go back over things. So you can see why this is not really the month to be moving forward too much, because you don't know where you're going. And you need to know where you're going to be able to get there. And this month is very much about figuring out where you are, where do you want to be, and what the plan is to get you there. A couple of other weak links. You've got early and middle degree placements have Neptune in the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of your inner psyche, and Neptune can be dissolving. It can dissolve out sometimes sanity. So if you feel like your mind is going or something is happening there, it could be that Neptune is testing weak links within, and you can see how this relationship to your bigger belief systems, there's always these links in the chart where there's like things supporting the other process, you know, where they're working in tandem. So if you have any weak links in your mental, your belief systems or your mental state, then Neptune can be testing that in your 12th house. So you might need some help outside of yourself certain times, because Aries is so independent and does everything on their own. But sometimes you need to have an anchor through a process like this, and Neptune's presence there might require you to have an anchor, and that can come in many forms. But let it be a functional anchor. Let it be an anchor that is healthy and not like a substance anchor or a bad habit anchor or an addictive anchor. You want it to be something that's based in as much truth as you can muster during this time of so much changing. For those of you who don't have Neptune in the 12th house, you have Neptune in the 11th house. And actually for all Aries and all people in general, this period of time could bring about the testing of the weak links of security. So your internet security, your domain, your home security, all of those things can be tested when Neptune is in Pisces, period, and Pisces rules the 12th house, and most of you have this in the 12th house, and the 11th house rules the internet and internet-based security. So every which way you look at this, no matter what Aries placement you have, there are these potentials. So one thing that I want to talk a little bit more about as far as early, middle, and late degree placements. When I talk about an early degree placement, if you're watching for your sun, then that is March 21st through March 30th. And then the middle degree placements are March 31st through April 9th. And then the late degree placements are April 10th through April 20th. So you can see there's 30 degrees in a sign, 30 days of a sign. You break it up in thirds, 10, 10, and 10. And that's how we get the early, middle, and late. So you can do this the same if you're watching for your rising sign. 0 to 9 degrees is early, 10 to 19 is middle, and then 20 to 29 or 19 to 29 is late. You know, that's how it gets broken up into thirds. So when I'm talking about early and middle and late, you can figure out based on that information what is most relevant for you. Something else that is going on is Uranus is either in your first house or your 12th house. These are long-term transits, like I said, but whenever there's a long-term transit at play, when we have a superficial exacerbator, like a short-term planet retrograde like Mercury, it just brings up the things that were more hidden under the surface going on, like these long-term stories. It brings them all up right in front of you to deal with. So that's why I'm bringing this these long-term things in here, because I think they're going to become more relevant. Early and some middle degree placements have Uranus in the first house. The rest of the middle degree placements and late degree placements have Uranus in the 12th house. Uranus is the planet of instability, of erraticness, of things that come out of the blue, of shocks and jolts and volatility. So either that energy is being brought to your physical body or it's being brought to your mind. So again, if you think you're going crazy or feel like you're going crazy, it could be these transits are messing with your mind and you might need more support. Many people will need nutritional support. There are supplements that you can have a qualified practitioner assist you with to get your brain chemistry balanced, to get your blood sugar balanced. I've talked about this before and I will talk about it again. If your blood sugar isn't balanced, it's going to be really hard for you to have balanced emotions and mental space. And this might become more important as you have all this energy in the 12th house, in the first house. If your blood sugar is going, burr, 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 your mood is going to be doing the same thing, up and down, and swinging up and down, and just really all over the place. So the more you can balance your blood sugar and balance your the hormones and neurotransmitters, that the more you will feel balanced and the more you won't have weak links that we brought up by these transits. So these are things that will have to be addressed. If you're a person that has their birthday between around April 2nd and 6th, or has a placement between around 15 and 18 degrees, I've been talking about this for a while, I'm one of these people because my rising sign is in there, then you have Uranus sitting right on top of either your sun or your rising sign. And that is a powerful time. You might be walking in a room and electric is getting whacked out. You might have electrical fires around you. You might have things malfunctioning because when you walk in the room and it's really obvious, you know, you could be frying pieces of machinery just by your presence. This is an amazing amount of electricity that is being conducted through your electromagnetic field. Don't get yourself thinking that just because you can't see an electromagnetic field around me or yourself, that we don't have it. We do have it. And these are the things that people who can see beyond what is tangible, see energy fields, can check out your field, and you can tune into other people's field. It's around you and it influences wherever it is. And you have more electric in it when you have a transit to Uranus, period. That is what is going on. It can interfere with your sleeping. It can make a lot of people around you act more erratic. When you have Uranus sitting on top of your ascendant, it's kicking a 180-degree angle to your 7th house cusp, which rules your relationship. So people around you can be doing things that surprise you, that shock you, that jolt you, that seem like it's out of the blue, which might cause you to make decisions that seem like they're coming out of the blue in response to someone doing something like that. This is coming for those of you with birthdays after April 6th or so, because that's where Uranus will be moving next, but solidly for that April 2nd to April 6th crew, or those middle degree Aries placements, you're working with a lot right now. You know, it's a crazy, major, long, powerful transit. So, you know, I asked the question, what's good about it, right? We can see there are challenges that go along with it. What's good about it is you can use that energy to break yourself out of anything that has been stuck. You know, so let's imagine there's water flowing, and this represents the chi that is in your life force energy that's flowing through your body. But let's talk about a river that has water flowing. Well, let's say beavers build a dam, which relates to stagnation or a block or something within you, okay? And so the water starts to just naturally flow around it. Some of it's being held up and it gets pulled, you know, made into this lake, but then some of it starts trickling around it and continues a river, but without nearly the force, the life force energy that would be flowing if the dam or the block weren't there. So when you have something like this electric lightning strike of Uranus just sitting there, just zapping you, you can zap through these blocks. You can set fire to the trees that are stopping the dam and then get your full life force energy restored to you and your projects and your life experience, because you needed something this powerful to break through blocks that have been so stuck and so well cemented in your experience. That's what's good about it. That's what's awesome about challenging transits. That's why, even though I don't think that I sugarcoat challenging transits, if something is going to be challenging, I'll say straight up, this is going to be tough. But it always comes back around for me, yeah, it's going to be tough, but what is good about it? You know, there's a huge difference between sugarcoating. And sugarcoating is saying, oh, it's going to be fine, don't worry about that, it's no problem. It's a problem, but it's a problem that is seeking to find a resolution. And Aries of any degree, not just these, this is more intense for the people I was talking about, but Uranus being in your sign, period, this is an activating time, and this, you are zapping like a live wire, and you have the potential to take that energy and use it proactively, constructively, to clear out the blocks that are interfering with your highest expression in this lifetime. So then it gets more exciting. So January can be a very wonderful breakthrough month in that way if you use it wisely, okay? You definitely need to be aware of the body needing more support, supplementation that's appropriate for you, your nervous system, cardiovascular system, anything having to do with circulation or electric in your body might need more support, and you have to keep an eye on that stuff. So all of these things are going on. We've got Jupiter going retrograde on January 8th. We have a new moon in Capricorn on January 9th. This is the best time of the year to set your intentions for your business, for your work, for your career, for your place in this world, or make the wishes. Jan Spiller, brilliant astrologer Jan Spiller, I talk about her sometimes. She says that rather than set new moon intentions, make new moon wishes. There's something more along the energy of surrender when you make a wish than when you make an intention. And there's something magical in that the universe very much responds to. And she says when you line up the energy of the new moon in a certain sign with wishes that are in the same energy of the sign, so Capricorn things rule business, you make wishes around business, Capricorn things rule your place in the world, relationships with father figures, authority figures, etc., then your wishes have more oomph behind them and more of a chance of being brought to your experience. So if there's, let's see, that's the new moon in Capricorn. Also, there's a beautiful day, January 13th, which is when the sun in Capricorn makes a trine to Jupiter in Virgo. And you might feel that in the days around January 13th. Sometimes we don't feel the transit exactly on the day. Sometimes we feel it a little bit before or a little bit after. But a trine is a beautiful, coherent, sacred geometrical shape. And when we have an aspect with that shape, it's just nice. And it's really, to me, one of the nicest little spots in the month, because we've got squares, we've got Mercury retrograde, there's awkwardness, there's confusion, there's going backwards, there's intensity with Pluto, there's a square with Uranus on January 7th with the sun. You know, there's a lot of dicey things that are going on here. Now, don't take that to mean bad. They're dicey. You know, you've got to be a little bit more present and not having an agenda. That is the bottom line. Aries is so good. Aries people are so good at having an agenda. More than one. Lots of agendas, getting all this done, right? But this is one of the months that if you're ever going to drop an agenda, unless it's an inward spiritual clearing agenda, then this would be the month to do it, because it's just not conducive to having agendas. So just follow the signs of the universe, see what the universe is telling you through the events that are happening, and be present and listen, and try to avoid hasty or impulsive actions or decisions. In general, I think that's a good recommendation for Aries, but especially during this time. Just be aware of what's going on around you. So I can't see what's happening in your individual chart. I'd like very much to. If you'd like a personal reading, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I have a special going for my coaching package right now. And you can also sign up for my free email newsletter and get all kinds of goodies that go along with that, including the write-up that I do for the month ahead, which I send out about a month ahead, that gives you even more information about the upcoming transit so that you can understand what you're working with. And definitely check out my Creating Successful Online Business course that has been enrolling, that will continue to be enrolling, and through this month. And maybe that's appropriate for you. So check it out on my website, check out my blog, and I hope you have a wonderful new year, even though it's not so much a new year. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month.